Thank you to Malachi for providing the streaming and the microphones for us. And thank you, Melissa, for doing that. First item, confirmation of agenda.
Board adopts the agenda for the meeting on January 31st, 2024, noting the addition of staff report CAO 15-24, EECC update CI community grants as item 6.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder. Member Wislack and Member Barber. Any comments, questions? Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Mind you, any declarations of pecuniary interest if you have them? The delegation this evening, approval of the previous minutes, resolution on the minutes, Solon.
That the EECC board adopt the minutes of the January 31st meeting.
Mover and seconders. Member,
That
little
little
longer.
that was in my phone.
I'm doing a job. Yeah, I know. Number two. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Action items, staff reports and correspondence.
Report Recreation 01-24 titled AMHA Online Hockey Association Correspondence Update and Received Information. And that the board encourage staff to work with the AMHA to support their volunteers in installing the Elmer Flames logo and dressing room 3 and 5 on Rig B. This link extensively with the
Mover and seconders. Councilor, if you remember Lewis, I have to say member, I can keep it, and member of members. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Did you have a report on 6B? Yes. Resolution 6.1B, go ahead.
That report Recreation 02-24 entitled Attention of a Donation he received for information, and that the board approved the intention of donation as submitted by the AMHA, and further to approve capital expenditures not to exceed $3,000 to assist with expenditures outside the scope of the donation.
Mover and seconder. Member Roddy and member Susie, I think you have a report.
Through you, Chair, would you like me to reference report Rec 01-24 with respect to the meeting with minor hockey? Okay. Thank you. So as the board is aware, a letter from the AMHA was submitted with regard to concerns identified by their executive. A successful and productive meeting was held on February 12th between staff and AMHA executive representatives. I'm pleased Stephen Douglas from the AMHA executive is here to join us tonight as well. So to provide transparency to the board and with respect to the AMHA, each item that was listed on their letter that was sent in was discussed, and the results of the discussion were included within this report. So the dialogue between staff and the AMHA was productive in that several actionable items were identified. Staff were able to share process and staffing information with the AMHA to lend understanding of the demands on staff. And staff appreciate the AMHA sharing their concerns and have discussed work plans internally to ensure service standards are met. The meeting resulted in many positive outcomes, and staff appreciate the dedicated volunteers of the AMHA and the programming they provide, bringing pride to the EECC. The AMHA has requested permission to paint the Elmer Flames logo in dressing rooms 3 and 5 of Eastlink Arena. which is before the board this evening for decision. A substantial donation was also discussed at the meeting, which will be addressed as another agenda item. I'm pleased to report to the board that this meeting was very much appreciated and a positive introduction to this user group. I appreciate the opportunity to gain feedback from this group, and subsequently user group meetings are being scheduled with other ICE users as we speak. For board information, staff are currently crafting an ICE user survey to gain feedback to inform decisions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. C, Manager of Parks and Recreation. Live streaming.
That report, recreation 04. You can reach out, venue, live streaming, that's the information. And that board approved to reflect the for installation of the Pixelot TV streaming system in the arena, and their request to occupy the Eastern Arena at the EECC for this purpose.
Thank you. Mover and second. Moved by Member Schwarzenegger. Seconded by Member Rafferty.
Thank you through your chair. We're pleased to have Vance Stark here, General Manager of the Elmer Spitfires, to support this report this evening. The report before you this evening explains a request received by staff from the Elmer Spitfires organization to install a subscription-based live streaming system in Eastlink Arena. So this system, fully funded through the Provincial Junior Hockey League, is intended to be installed for the purpose of live streaming Elmer Spitfire games to subscribers, as well as for the hockey club to review video for training purposes. The Elmer Spitfires are prepared to coordinate installation of a dedicated internet line to begin this project with the intention of the system being operational by the 2024-2025 season. The PJHL has entered into an agreement with Pixelot TV, the live streaming vendor. The Elmer Spitfires are responsible for the cost of installing the required dedicated internet connection, with the PJHL financing the broadcasting system and all related costs. The EECC is not responsible for broadcasting, damage, theft of equipment, or related liability. This will be the responsibility of the Spitfires. Staff have worked with representatives from Pixelot to determine the viability of the installation and delivery of this service as outlined in this report. In terms of privacy, the Elmer Spitfires have confirmed that the Pixelot system is set to be available to subscribers a half an hour before the games to run diagnostics and capture team warm-ups. The broadcast runs until the end of the game and then it shuts off. Signage will be installed at the expense of the Spitfires to advise that the arena is being filmed to be transparent and protect the privacy of staff and visitors to the facility. Staff have been assured the system is not live 24 hours, rather is scheduled as I had mentioned. Staff recommend proceeding with this system on the condition that the Elmer Spitfires manage the system accordingly. And it's important to note that this agreement no way provides Pixelot TV with exclusive rights to broadcast events in the EECC. The arena owners are not required to provide staff to monitor, operate, or troubleshoot any equipment. It will all be taken care of by the Spitfires. Staff are pleased to work alongside user groups to promote success, and this project will not have a budgetary impact on the EECC, nor will the EECC be responsible for equipment or broadcasting as mentioned. Staff recommend supporting this project and recommend, again, this undertaking be reviewed annually. And I also think it's important to note that should the board direct the system be removed, that this will also be at the Elmer Spitfires expense. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question? Member Chapman.
It's just a minor thing. How are you going to guarantee that the camera is shut off when it's supposed to be?
I'll have to get clarification on that question. That is a good question. We do have a computer system that does get hooked up to the camera. at the beginning of the game, and that computer system is removed at the end of our game. We use similar laptops for all of our data entry during the game as it is live, even now. All the data is input as the game goes on. So yeah, that computer will be removed at the end of every game.
Anyone else? Number one.
Mr. Chair, the question, is it only going to be available for the Spitfires or for all teams in there?
That's a great question. The goal is to use this as a test pilot year for us as an organization. But the system has been used for other organizations, including figure skating clubs, minor hockey. So that is something that is available. We wanted to try it for a year to kind of see how the system works and work out all the bugs to that. But the capability is there to share it with other groups.
I think that's a great idea. Just for old people, that older people, or those people that don't have the mobility to come and see the games, or sick people. So I think it's a great option to work forward or work into.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to recognize Vance and his team's effort on this project. This agreement came to us substantially different than the board sees it before them today. I had the easy job of just identifying all the concerns, and Vance and his team had the difficult job of making them go away. So I think he has done a great job, and it's in a format I think that the board can support without much risk. And hopefully, if it works out, I think that, as the question has been said, it would be possibly available to other user groups, but with the privacy concerns, I think that's something that everyone has to sort of work through as well.
So the camera will be focused on the ice surface and not on, will it miss all the sand area or, and catch player, or like, can you fine tune what is caught and captured? And does it travel across the ice surface, or is it fixed?
It's going to be a fixed point. The idea would be is it's one camera system that has multiple cameras inside of it. Some of them will be stationary, and then one will be moving with the play. I can't answer the question on how far up the stands at this moment. We really won't have a good, clear picture of that until we get things installed. I think we have the advantage here at East Elgin that the stands are quite high here, so that we can still get the players' benches and the ice surface in view. But I can't really answer that too well today.
Seeing no one else, question, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And they jumped over B, so he deals with referring on the intention of donation. Resolution.
We did get a mover and seconder for this, moved by Councilor Roth, and seconded by, member Roth, seconded by member Shapiro. And the resolution is that report of Recreation 02-24 entitled Intention of Donation and receive this information. And that the board approve the intention of donation as submitted by the EECC, and further to approve capital expenditures not to exceed $3,000 to assist with the expenditures outside the scope of the donation.
So we did have a the seconder. Is there any questions on this? Comments?
I just have one comment. Well, when you're speaking, can you turn the microphone towards you, please? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear all one when you
We
speak.
can't hear. So we have to share it. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, I can hear you fine. You got a nice voice. Questions or comments? Number each.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I submitted my questions ahead of the meeting, so I'll just go over them. Will the quote for the system still be honored since it is written on the quote that it's only valid for 30 days, and that was December 15th? In the event that the code is not honored, as it is definitely beyond 30 days, who is responsible for the amount that we need to accept the amount already been previously approved by the minor auction association?
To answer that.
I can take that. Thank you. Through you. Thank you for the question. And we have reached out to our OES reps and do have confirmation that both quotes will be honored. Thank you.
This is a different question. Both items, the scoreboard system and the then run software system indicates, in the fine print that there are batteries warranted for 60 days. What is the cost of these batteries in the event they need replacing? And so what's their, ultimate purpose as backup or, needed for operation?
Thank you, Member Leach, and through your chair to the member. We've had reassurance from OES that it's standard language on the warranty information that there aren't actually batteries required for this system for either proposal. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Any others? Go ahead, another question.
Is there existing cabling that you've utilized or will that new cabling be installed?
Through you, Chair to Member Leach, thank you for the question. Basically, from what we understand from the OES rep, it's pretty much plug and play. So the existing wiring that's there for the scoreboard should be functional. There will be some electrical work required for the TV monitors to be installed, but absolutely we need to supply an HDMI. I'll get technical here, so I trust their knowledge. I'm just reading out for you. We'll supply an HDMI patch cable from the receiver located at the monitor into the TV. So that's the displays for the lobby, and also at the other end of the network closet to the hard drive computer at our network hub. So there's a little bit of Cat5 cabling required there. So there'll be some new cabling, but also whatever we have existing, certainly there won't be extensive work being required there. And OES is very forthcoming in offering to assist staff in locating where cabling should be run and offering suggestions in that regard from their experience. So, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, and all the question, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. I think we're on team. And your Parks and Recreation dealing with the contract renewal resolution.
The resolution is that report Recreation 03-24 entitled Contract Renewal 2024 Service Agreement with CIMCO Refrigeration to receive information, and that the board grants a 1-year renewal to the current service agreement with CIMCO Refrigeration reflective of the 2024 quoted price.
Seconder. Please, and good job. Susan.
Thank you, through you, Chair, to the board. I'm pleased to offer this opportunity for renewal of a contract with Simcoe this evening. This really is a very important housekeeping item. We feel that Simcoe Refrigeration has been a successful vendor in the past. They've completed the work reliably and within budget in 2023 and have received a positive vendor review. This service agreement contract really represents important quarterly inspections. So folks who are subject matter experts with regards to keeping a refrigeration plant going so we can keep the doors open in the building, will inspect the system, make recommendations on required repairs to make sure that we can keep our ice surfaces functional for our users. I'm happy to report that the 2024 proposal has a very marginal increase from the 2023. And I'm pleased to have this before you for consideration tonight. For information. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members?
There. The 2023 service, was there any beyond the scope of the service agreement? And if so, what did that mean?
Through you, Chair, to Member Leach. Thank you for the question. There was indeed, and I think that's important to note that through these inspections, we note the deficiencies that we can address, or not even deficiencies, but opportunities to make sure our equipment remains functional. So there were, above the service agreement last year, there was about $5,000 that was required for items such as an ammonia top-up and filter, dehumidifier service call. We required additional chart recorder paper for our records and a condenser bearing unit. And additionally, on top of that, staff spent about around $300 on miscellaneous parts and preventative items, minor repair materials.
So I realized I didn't inquire about anything pre-2023. Has that been somewhat standard in the past repairs over and above the agreement? Or are we anticipated to see anything greater than last year's over and above expenditures for this project?
Through you, Chair, and I might make this a bit of a team sport since that question predates me a wee bit, so bear with me a bit. We're hoping to maintain status quo. We do have an aging facility, so these inspections are very welcome, but we're bound to find some areas for repair. So I think honestly, without having Simcoe in to look at it, we're not quite sure what to expect for future years, but they're ready and available for us. If appropriate, I can refer to my colleagues to speak to 2022.
Thank you, Susan. So I don't have the exact numbers for this service contract or any work that this company would have done for us. This is sort of a service contract, if you will, that just sort of basic times of the year you have them come in, gives you sort of a priority seating. They answer the phone when you call because you're sort of on contract to them. Any work over and above that would be extra to the contract. I will say that I think the board will call about 2 years ago, or these guys have to, or maybe before that, we did tender for this work. There was another contractor that was a lower bidder. We hadn't had a lot of history with them. Some of this company's key personnel had gone to that other contractor, so we went with that vendor. I think halfway through the year, that personnel actually came back to this vendor. I don't know if maybe the other company wasn't good or not. At that time, we had trouble even getting that vendor to finish off what they had done in their service contract. So it is a low value service contract, but as our equipment ages as well, it's good to have the people on site that actually know our equipment. They've got a little bit of history and a little bit of working knowledge with it. Anything over and above this contract, you can solicit prices for or find something, but this allows you to have sort of a vendor on call, if you will, if something goes wrong as well. That helps explain where this is at.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It just it gives us some insight into what expenses we could expect for budget.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to see we're having a professional look at this, because we have no idea when somebody's looking at these things. And I don't want it out there, then if patients stop serving the last after it's inspected, because that's all, we could go up in that day and inspect it. I think that should be quite clear. Does this company recertify or certify these units? They have to be certified every year or something? Doesn't know that.
For you, Chair. The units are inspected quarterly as part of the service contract, but the TSSA takes care of the actual compressor units. So there are certifications required within the refrigeration plan.
Okay, then, I'll let you know that, so we can look at.
Hopefully save us some money.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. E, recreational donation state helper in resolution.
That report recreation 05-24 entitled donation of state helpers be received for information.
Moved and seconded. Member Michelle, thank you.
Thank you through you, Chair. I've got the hot seat tonight. Good news stories though, right? So this is another good community partnership, and I'm very pleased for my first meeting to be able to bring such positive news to the board. So Uplink Communications approached staff with their intention to donate 4 modular skate helpers, the units that you see in use at Parent and Taught public skating. They were really looking to help the community in a certain way. So they did deliver 4 skate helpers to us. They've got their Uplink logo on an embedded panel on the front of the skate helper that they're eager to celebrate within the community. But I did ask, and they were happy to comply to hold their announcement until after the board had the opportunity to celebrate this achievement first. So these skate helpers are really great. They can be used for to promote inclusion, active living, get folks out to participate in our programming. I know young ones, small and tall, are looking for a little extra stability on the ice. So these can really add capacity to our programming. They can be stacked. So they can be used as individual units for smaller skaters or stacked for taller skaters just looking for a bit more stability. They're the same units as we have on hand, so our staff are confident that they're fairly maintenance-free and storage isn't an issue. And we're very excited that Uplink has volunteered to partner with the community to support the EECC.
It's a lot sturdier than the old that I taught my roommate third year university. He was from India, no idea how to skate. So he would have really loved this. It was a lot sturdier than the chair that he pushed.
Yeah, I might even try it. Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Item F, the administrator giving our daily grant. Resolution.
The report CIO 15-24 entitled EECC update from the GICB grants we received for information.
Mover and second. Member Lee. Oh, there's member Sir, I didn't see you talk later, but yeah, kind of high. Oh,
Yes, unfortunately, we don't have anybody with us tonight, so I will just say that we're going to refer the board to the report itself for the details. This was a grant application that was submitted in February 2023. It was brought to the board for endorsement. We only received notice of the denial of the grant in last month in February. And just to summarize the analysis in the report, to be competitive on future applications, the EECC facility will need to open an energy audit and develop a detailed plan for energy and emission reductions. And with that being said, Heather, Rob, Susie, and I will do our best to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I'd like to thank staff for going through the motions to apply for this and making all the very details available for the grant process. Grants are tricky to achieve, so it doesn't mean more right now, I'm sure, but thank you for your efforts.
Anyone else? Member Chuck, then.
Chair, so my question is, are we going to put something in place so that we are ready to apply for the energy efficiency that mentioned?
Wait, that's wrong. Is it very?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I was just part of the sort of the B team as they worked through this grant application, really supporting Josh and Terry, who did a lot of legwork on this grant application. I know they threw everything we had at it. It's really disappointing to see that we didn't get it because when I reviewed it or had a quick look at it, they had all the HVAC stuff. They picked those things that thought would have the best opportunity for a grant. So this is disappointing, and we'll put every resource we have into every grant application. So that's a sort of an answer if I could.
Thank you about that. Can I ask another question? So it doesn't really answer my question. The question is, there was something mentioned about having, it looked into to see what efficiencies we need in order to have a grant. So, is there something that we should be doing? Should we have someone look at the building and see what we could do to become more green? And should we be putting solar panels on the roof, or what is it that we should be doing that would make us qualify for this energy efficient grant? I know that we tried for the HVAC, but there's got to be other things within the building that we can look at that not only would qualify for the grant, but also make the building more self-sufficient.
Fortunately, the best person to answer that question would be. We're currently looking to see whether there are energy requirements this year. And I think he's the one leading that for Belmer and EECC.
Just a comment that the way things are going up in Ottawa, I bet you we have that liberal MP ran to the flow in this area like crazy. And that seems to be, or if we were in that land, you know. So I think that's probably not what we can say, just through the, I think, let's restrict our questions to the matter at hand. That's not a question. It's an honest comment. Okay, anyone else? Trying to be honest. Remember this order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this facility have any appetite to incorporate electrical vehicle charging stations? I know I've had numerous parents and user groups because we have so much pocket traffic from Toronto, Sarnia, one major cities. We have commuters with electric vehicles. And the challenge they're finding is that we only have 2 charging stations here in Elmer, which are downtown, obviously not a facility. So they're forced to almost stop at the on-route on the way here, charge them as much as they can, get here, and then go back to the on-route to again top it off, where they feel it would be more user-friendly if we had that technology here. So are we able to have that down the road at some point? Would we have appetite to incorporate that?
Certainly, I mean, something that the board gave direction to look at. We could look into it. I think we did a cursory inspection. You've got Hydro One here, or power at the complex. And certainly we have nothing in the budget currently to support charging station application. So I'm not sure if it's 50% funding or 80% funding, or if the board has an appetite to include those in the budget. I think part of your application, you have to really demonstrate that you have the sort of funds to proceed as well. So certainly something we could look at if that was the board's direction.
Do we have any kind of costing at all for those?
And not off the top of my head, no.
The conversation I had with your representative was that if we had a fast charger, what they were charging, this was at, Elm, or whatever place in Ingersoll, it was $10,000 a year now. So it's not cheap for them. But certainly we could look and see if there's applications coming down the pipe, because that's certainly a concern across Canada is to provide charging stations. You know, they add on this.
Pretty much, Chair. Not much of an electric vehicle person, but it does make sense to have a charger here. Is there any revenue that is generated? Does anyone know? It's a broad question. Does anyone know if there's any revenue that can be generated from them, or are they at cost to us?
Well, the county has several charging stations, and there is revenue for there. You use your card like you would anywhere else to charge it, but it takes a lot of charges in order to pay for itself. But, you know, we can look into that certainly. Down the road. Anything else? Member Linsky? There's kind of a lack of microphones in this.
Not very good with microphones, but anyway, this is a question that possibly Rob might be able to answer, or maybe even yourself. We did receive a grant quite a few years ago, dealing with electricity and the power saving involved, whatever we did at that time. Do you remember that, Rob, at all, or was that before your time?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wasn't directly involved in it. I do remember it. And that's something we're seeing in a lot of our systems, and probably both the town and the township as well. Early on, those programs, it made great sense to replace the equipment. You're replacing a water pump anyway. You swapped it out with the latest technology. Everybody remembers the lighting ones that have come in that you've swapped out. All that sort of low-hanging fruit is slowly disappearing. There are not a lot of those ones left that you can cherry pick. I think that's why the grant team focused on those air conditioners, is because they do need to be replaced. It is in an asset management plan. It's part of the budget, and the latest technology demonstrates that you're going to see the efficiencies. Truthfully, I was really disappointed. I thought the grant that they had was pretty solid.
Okay, thank you. I think for discussion, we've gotten away from the original motion that deals with the report on the grant we didn't get, but it was interesting to talk about possible grants for the future. So owner's always looking at possibilities for grants for. So, seeing no other questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Here, thank you. So now we're at item G. I think I'll probably just skip that one and not get it at all. I think that's the main items. G. So I have a few preliminary comments that I do want to make. I'm going to wait for the main resolution, because I feel that we may be having a number of minor resolutions along the way. And there are actually a couple of parts to this agenda item. First, as you recall, staff were asked to revise with consideration of comments. That's a quote. Staff were asked to revise with consideration of comments the capital list, and have done so. They have done so by removing 15 of the 19 items on this capital list. Secondly, there are 4 items left on the list for our consideration. The way I'd like to approach it is this. First of all, I'm going to ask if there are any items in the deferred list, well, the deferred list or the cut list or whatever name you want to give it, but the 15 items. Are there any items on the deferred list which you would like to consider, despite the fact that staff has suggested we cut them? And I would need a separate motion for each one of those that you would like to reconsider. Secondly, if there are no items to reconsider from the deferred list, Then when we move on to the items on the proposed list, the four items, there are four items, we will look at each under a separate motion. So that when we get there, and then focus the discussion on a specific capital item rather than going all over the place with this. A number of procedural items to remember. The cost of each item is that which was suggested by the facility assessment professional. It's not a final amount. As this will depend, of course, on an RFP and a tender from the RFP for each of the items that you agree to. So the point of the discussion here, I think, is basically to say, yes or no, we want to do this. And you can give it a dollar amount that you wish to give it. Yes, it's all going to come back to the board anyway. It's all going to come back to council anyway. So I don't want to get any haggling over what the price is. Well, it's just the amount that we deal with it. We can, of course, change, change the suggested amount. But if you're going to change the suggested amount and you're going to approve the particular item, I'd ask that you be, I ask that you be reasonable and straightforward, because I don't want to waste staff time by saying, okay, we're going to do this and it's going to cost whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it gets denied in one council or the other, or the board or whatever. So I'll go ahead and make suggestions, but keep in mind that I don't want to end up with staff having to do a futile exercise. Okay, so the kind of the procedural items that I'm looking. Do you have a question about those procedural items? Because what I'd like to begin with is the 15 items that were deferred. So I'm just going to go through the naming them. And if there's anyone that would like to put it on the table, then you can raise your hand and say, I'd like to put that item on the table, and we'll make a motion on it and vote on it. So the items that I'm going to list through that were deferred are they're in the order of this this Excel spreadsheet that I can never read. But I bigger glasses, but in that order. First of all, and I'll wait a few seconds. The first one is the security fire alarm panel, which was deferred for $51,725. Can you take it? The second one is the superstructure. I'm sorry, we got to take it.
I just have a
A question?
Through Chair. Is this item on the list because it's failed, or is that risk of fail?
I don't know to answer that question, Russ.
I'm just trying to look it up in the consultant's report. I believe it's probably reached the end of its useful life cycle. I think they have had a couple of minor issues with it, and I believe it's probably high risk for failure.
Answer the question.
So my comment is, it says a fire alarm. This could be a life-saving necessity. So it bothers me that it's on the list to be scratched, because if we were so unfortunate as to have a fire and the alarm system did not work and we lost lives because of it, it would not be a good thing. So that is my comment.
Did you want to make a motion to approve this item?
Yes.
Do we have a seconder for this? We've been raised, all right, so it's on the table. Any discussion? Okay. We'll vote on it separately. And if it's voted favorably, then it becomes part of course, the items that we're going to do, yes.
Mr. Chair, on the support, on Jonathan's comments. I think it could be a legislative necessity, but my question is, if we decide not to replace this and something does happen, are we liable as board because we decided not to do anything?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that. Staff, reliable, probably. I would think reliable, but not. I don't have an answer.
Okay, yeah. If I remember from the school situation, when this kind of situation came up, it wasn't up to us, it was the fire department that decided, something had to be replaced, and of course, they would pass that information on to the school board. We don't have a school board here, we live right here, but where does the fire department stand on this? Is this thing bigger, or is it just, a luxury item right now? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So referring back to the engineer's report, it says 1 to 3 years, likely failure, end of the useful life cycle. It is inspected annually. So what the board is considering is removing it out of the capital now. But the board places himself in a position, if it fails, then you get orders, you have no choice. You're not going to procure it. You're going to procure it under emergency circumstances. We're just going to have to buy it. So keeping this in the capital budget now allows you to maybe get in front of that, get some pricing, write a call for RFP, or get some quotes. If you decide to defer it tonight, you run the risk of it failing and you receive orders that say fix it, in which case we're going to either have to fix it or close the building because we will have left people in it, right? Or a fire watch or another of other things I have seen, but that's kind of what's before the board. Get ahead of it or run the risk.
Your chair.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a more general question about the third item, to know what criteria did staff use as a rationale to say, well, initially we thought this year, but now we think it's okay. Because now, I'm hearing almost like, well, we wish we did this, we were either staff recommendation.
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Chair. If you go back to that original, sorry, not the original report, the January 25th report, in there we had a whole bunch of items. When I kind of went through those and did the risk, I saw a lot of head shaking. Yeah, okay, I kind of understand. So I took it from that everyone was leaning to the side of removal. So when I was talking about the things that I probably would comment on, the roof or stuff like that, but we did talk about the fire in there. The comments were, about what you're hearing from us now. Originally they were in, but I saw a lot of heads shaking that they could live with the risk. So based on those head nods, I put them out of the budget. I think the goal at that meeting is to try to reduce the budget items.
This is precisely why I wanted to go back to the list, because it's very difficult for staff to determine what should be and should not be based on the building. Okay, under Rod.
Mr. Chair, Rob, do you know if is that just a board replacement, or is that like sensors and everything that kind of goes with it, the communication to call, is it called automatically, that type of stuff, or is it just that board that's in the entry?
On page 11 of the report, it looks like it primarily speaks to the fire alarm panel, despite being function may require upgrades due to age. Allowance has been made to carried in 1 to 3 years. Allowance for general upgrades of site features have been carried into the mid latter portion of the term. So until I do a deeper dive into it, I'm going to rely on the description.
Follow up.
So say we did approve it and we said like we did our 3 quotes and we weren't happy with how it came back to you to put it then, it's kind of a waste of time. Not wanting to do that, but what happens if it comes back and it's actually only $10,000 because if it's that little red board and that's 50, I can buy a lot of stuff for 50 grand, a lot of switches. So there has to be something smarter to it than just that red box. So like, is it a waste of time to to get some quotes on it and actually see what it's going to cost to do this stuff.
Everyone's got the-
I'm asking you, I think it's another.
We haven't done a deep dive on a lot of these issues. Just if it gets cut, there's no sense in spending the time and effort to scope it, talk to the people I need to scope with. So I can't really answer a lot of the stuff beyond what's in the engineer's report. And that'll be consistent with a lot of the items. There's no sense me doing deep dives on the parking lot, looking at the sub drains and looking at the manholes and the catch basins and the curbs when it's going to get cut out of the budget anyway. So if this is something that we need to scope and look at and get done, that's when we go and look at it. We might be back to the board with a number that's less than the engineer's amount. We might be back with a little bit more until you get into the weeds. It's pretty tough.
Thank you. Remember, I know I said we don't want to waste staff time, but I think the criteria is if this is worth doing, we look at it, we can call it off later, but I think what's worth doing, we look at it again, make it part of the capital budget. That's what we're doing there. There was somebody over here, I think, that has their hand up tonight. No, I was asked. Okay, who's next? Member Barber.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Fire alarm systems are tested regularly. I think this is one of the items that would be reasonable to defer at this particular time for Rob's analogy that should the system ever become unreliable, we're obligated to get it fixed anyway, and we would have to deal with it at that particular time, rather than focus whatever the cost might be on the replacing it now. And just trust that risk management is practical in this particular case. It is scheduled according to the draft budget for next year.
Member Whitmer.
Thank you. I guess, Rob, are these tested in the week system? Tested? That's not bad.
The system was last tested April 2023. So I guess we'll find out shortly if they do it annually.
That's right. I see it's on the budget for next year anyway. Well, I said area though, all the new electronics, we like a lot of free, we need to find retail, 25 years. That's what we're waiting for, that's it. So unless the next year, well, that's.
Okay, I think we kind of discussed this, you know, there's a motion on the floor that says that we start community complex board through the fire alarm panel, I think along with 51,000. We would do for shotgun and second for the all those in favor, including on the capital. Oh. So the 5, so it is improved. Next item is the superstructure support training in the amount of $16,861. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We did look at the superstructure on tour. Well, all I can see is more decent scraping and painting on the bottom. That's where the price was from. Do you have anyone in the complex that can do painting, can do anything?
Before we go any further about so the engines of time cannot indicate moving on it, but I think no, I just wanted to be okay. Okay, that's it. Next item is the exterior wall stucco for $224,633. Anyone else want to check it off the deferred list? Next item, exterior wall sealants, $40,900. Member Leach.
I request to support that because, that's why we in it. It creates a lot of havoc and we don't seal things and we're leaving that into the.
Making a motion to the,
Yeah.
do we have a seconder? Member Rod. The motion is to approve the amount of 40,900 in terms of exterior wall seal. Discussion.
More or less a comment, and I agree with member Leach. Small problems can turn big, by simple ceiling coffins and stuff, so. It does seem like an aggressive amount of money for it. But there is also a lot of surface area that doesn't need to be covered, so I think it should be considered. We would probably other things that are more important. But there could be a lot of worse things that happen by cheating out on seeing around windows and doors and such.
Anyone else? Are you ready for the question? The presentation will read the board approves the exterior wall sealants in the amount of $40,900 for the 2024 capital budget. All those in favor? That is carried. Next item of the exterior enclosure, exterior doors amount for $2,760 million. Anyone want to member job?
Can I ask a question?
Okay, well, one question.
Can you just explain exactly what you mean by the closure of the exterior doors? I remember on our tour, we were talking about it, but I just want to be more specific on what it's referring to.
I didn't advise staff that they getting those questions on the third item, so I'm sorry for their bad situation.
Through you, Mr. Chair, page 16 of the consultant's report identifies the work, if I've got it correctly. Item accounts for replacement of common solid doors and secondary exit locations. Doors are hollow core, metal fire rated doors. Corroded door frames were noted on the east and west elevations. Adding weather stripping or door sweeps can temporarily protect from further water ingress, and the long-term waterproofing repair solutions can be completed. Some of the emergency exit doors at the rear and the west of the building were reportedly difficult to operate. Budgetary costs have been allocated in place for the replacement of doors.
So my motion would be to accept this. If we're already sealing other areas, it makes sense to include the doors with it. So you want to make the building more weather resistant, and it's only a small amount. So if we're all incorporated together, it makes sense.
Are you moving to secondary? Member Leach. Discussion. Small amount looks like an important thing to do. Seeing no further discussion, I call the question. All those in favor? And that was carried. Next item is the exterior enclosure glazed doors, the amount of $40,900. Anyone wants to pick that up? Anyone? Next item, the roof coverings, standing seam, the amount of $306,000. $30,676.
That is not,
Oh, I'm sorry. That's on the part list, so you'll, going down to the interior construction partitions and the amount of $127,201. The folding doors inside the banquet hall. Anyone want to take that up? Next item, the interior arena finishes, $270,000. Yes, with the interior arena finishes, fully concrete. And pick it up. Go. Thank you. Next one, the interior finishes ceiling, the amount of $48,098. This dressing rooms and lockers for $260,738.
And that to be considered, Mr. Chair.
All right, so you're making the motion to consider the dressing rooms and lockers. Do we have a seconder? Member Van Ryn. Okay. Gotcha. If you want to speak first, that's it. Remove it.
Only to the respect that our user groups have indicated their concerns about the condition of the dressing rooms and the lockers. And those are the people that pay the bills.
Member Robbie.
Can we pick what, how many dressing rooms are there? 17? How many would we have to get to, in your opinion, to secure a decent price on doing them? Like, could we pick away at doing them instead of doing them all in one go? Could we do 4 a year or something like that?
Not when you're not blocked.
Well, just kind of, yeah, you pick away at, so do 4 a year. Ideally, you do them all at once, but it's not an ideal.
I might just talk to the chair, please. Okay. Yeah. Do we have another Member Van Ryn, take your hand up? And then Member Pelosi.
I would just like clarification, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I would just like clarification as to, did we receive further correspondence from the groups about the dressing room repairs? Because the only item that we received regarding the dressing rooms was actually the cleanliness of the dressing rooms. It doesn't say anything in the correspondence we just received on our copy about the actual integrity of the dressing rooms. It's just the cleanliness. So we're not spending that amount of money to clean the dressing rooms, to refurbish them, correct? So I just want clarification as to where that correspondence came from.
Member Van Ryn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I just want to support Member Barber saying that, we owe it to the churches to at least spend time to look into this, because again, to come back to board and the numbers just don't work, or it doesn't make sense, and maybe change it, do it a couple at a time. But I think it's something that we do over with church groups to at least look at this and see if it makes sense and we can fit this in.
Member Chico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comment and the focus on the user group, but I would like for us to resolve the maintenance issue before refurbishing, because I would hate to not have a plan that I'm sure the brand new refurbishment rooms are going to be well taken care of. So I do not support that.
Anyone else? Well,
I can't speak to the one question about what if you were to split this up, what the appropriate number would be. Save and accept the flooring. I know when we looked at the flooring in the past, there was sort of a minimum square footage to get those people on site. You could certainly break it up. This includes a little bit of the flooring. If you're going to do the flooring in each room, it does add up. I think previously the magic number was like $100,000 for the flooring was sort of the sweet spot. As opposed to chunking it out with the fixtures and the rest of the stuff that are in there, I imagine there would be a sweet spot where you could group, a few of them together. They wouldn't come through like a python trying to swallow a pig the next go around as well. But at this point, I wouldn't know what that number is or where that value should be.
Thank you. Further discussion? The motion reads, the dressing rooms amount, the dressing rooms amount $260,730. Mr. Chair, can we amend that motion to reflect, a phased in, project? If we want to arbitrarily come up with a number, let's do a quarter of that. Who's the second round of that? Thank you. On the ratio, kind of an amendment, but if you want to say, let's change that motion to do a quarter, is that what you'd like to do? Yes. Okay.
I think we should probably find out from whoever we find out. We should maybe find out if there is that, if we want to do it in the quarters, well, that's nice, but if it's $100,000 sweet spot in the quarters, don't work, so. That's the problem.
Well,
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, if the board wants to give us a value, we certainly wouldn't proceed blindly. I agree with both comments and both approaches. We would probably put a report back to the board and say, here's what we found that we can do for the budget that the board allocated for us. And we just wouldn't blindly RFP until we got some further direction. If the board wanted to give us a number or no number tonight, that would be appreciated.
you have enough. Remember you said quarter amounts to about $90,000. I think the math works out to about 65. We worked it out. Yeah. That number you like 65? 65. So the motion reads $65,000. So further question on that?
Mr. Chair. So if after doing some research on the minimum cost to get someone in to do flooring, let's say, and that doesn't match up with the 65, how are we going to proceed as a board?
Well, I believe as a board, we could change that number. It's needed, raise it, whatever it's coming back to the board, at least it's on the table. On the list. Makes sense? Okay, all those in favor? Just put the hands way up, please, so I can count them. 2, 4, 6. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is not approved. Inflated into the roadways, yeah, the paving at 216,000. You want to pick that up?
Absolutely.
Make a motion to that effect.
I would put a motion forward that we approve that amount. I'll speak to it after I guess.
Okay, seconder. Member, who's left? Did you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Any discussion that I have had with any user at this facility is that the parking lot is unbearable and an embarrassment for this facility. We have such a nice modern facility and we have a parking lot that is crumbling and has giant potholes that I can stand in and are at least six inches deep. I don't think that's acceptable for a municipal facility, especially one of this stature. So I would forward that we approve this and have it continue to keep it on our budget until it's rectified. Thank you.
Sounds like any other comment? Member Chapman?
For this item, I totally agree. I can't tell you how appalled I am at the potholes that are out there. I'm just worried that someone's going to drive their vehicle through one of those potholes and we're going to be liable.
the axles on the tire can be destroyed because it's going through a pothole like that. And once there's snow on the ground, you don't see those things. But also, it's a walking hazard. If someone's coming out of the arena, they're talking to their friends and not paying attention, they walk into one of those areas, it's quite bad. But do we have to do it all at once? Can we do the side that's the worst one year and the other side the other year? Is it necessary to do it all in one?
If there's massive potholes, who's maintaining the parking lot? Like, should someone fill that in with some ash patch, like we do on all the roads in our township? Just wondering, someone's gotta be looking after it, right? If you literally fall into it up to your knees, well, someone should fix it a long time before it gets that.
We've gone from 6 inches to meters.
Oh, yeah. That's building our number.
Staff, we have somebody who got to that,
Yeah, we have some cold patch, that doesn't last very long. Cold patch is more expensive than asphalt, and there comes a certain area, once you get so big, that cold patch doesn't really perform that great. And it goes in and it comes out really quickly. I would say especially this year, we've probably been on our 7th or 8th spring freeze-thaw cycle. It doesn't stay in there, but certainly we'll hit it hard in the spring. I had a little bit of a comment on the asphalt parking lots. They are one thing, asphalt parking lots do make me a little bit nervous in the design. It's because of the loading on an asphalt parking lot that you'll see. You've probably all seen when you drive down the road, it's really bare, but you get to the stop sign and you see the wheel running. That's from people putting on the brake, and all that pressure from the wheels goes on the asphalt, or when they start up, it goes the other way. Asphalt parking lots get a lot of loading and they tend to break up quickly. And I'd say it's probably not unusual when people build facilities, whether it's an arena or a fire hall or anything, that they keep out on the asphalt parking lot. It's a big expense when you get to the very end. So I tend to offer up an older design. I think it far exceeds your expectations. I know the North Shop parking lot, when I designed that, it was designed for 2 lifts. I don't think that second lift has ever been put on, and it's still performing really well. So that's just shows you, I always like to err on the side of caution with those parking lots. I think you get what you pay for. It's not just the asphalt. You want to do a deep dive. If there's no sub-drains in those catch basins out there, you might want to look at digging up, putting up some sub-drains down there as well. It's not simply the square footage of asphalt. Similarly, when the equipment comes in to remove that asphalt, you want to make sure your budget is robust enough that if all of a sudden you see the equipment starts pumping the ground, you're going to want to do that sub-base. You're just not going to want to pave over top of it. So I just caution that it's always not the price of the asphalt. That seems to be the most inexpensive part of the whole project. So I'm cautious on those.
I'm not sure, you're still approving of this particular, right?
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm gonna give it a good look.
Yeah, and this would cover how much of the entire parking lot, the entire parking space, only part of it, right?
Again, this is the consultant's estimate. This is one that I would want to do a deep dive on to come up with a scope of work that the board would be happy with. That you don't want to spend $200,000 and watch that parking lot fall apart again in 10 years. So.
Really, Mr. Chair, most of my questions were kind of answered there. The biggest one is why hasn't there's been minimal maintenance done, not just cold patching, but anything, also crack filling. If you get ahead of the cracks, they don't swell up, they don't freeze thaw. It's a really good way. Why don't we have anything in place for that? And it is a large area, so I think that there should be something set up where every year we put something away to plan for it, because the 220,000, whatever it is, isn't going to go very far in an area like that. You're 10 or 20 grand to table laneway. So I think there should be something put in place to try to get ahead of it, number one, and I think there needs to be better maintenance done once we invest into it. There's no point in putting it in and having it fall apart because we don't want to spend $20,000 a year filling cracks and patching holes. That's pretty stupid too, so.
Do you want to comment on that? Or do you want to?
Certainly had very similar thoughts. About 3 years ago, I reached out to Matt, he was an engineer. I had Matt come over, we walked the parking lot, I said, Matt, is there anything like it's alligator cracked? Am I throwing good money after bad? And we were both of the opinion at that point that really fill the potholes, watch them come out, but there wasn't, neither of us could recommend that we, let's say, do the crack sealing or anything like that in the parking lot at that time. And that was about 3 or 4 years ago. And then once it starts, you've seen it, it just goes crazy. But I did consult with the township's engineer.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. My concern about the $260,000 is how far is that going to go? If we're going to do a section, let's get it right. If 260,000 isn't the right number, how far do we have to go to make that section satisfactory? Over the years, we've done small little patching on the parking lot, and it hasn't worked. It's as bad as the rest of the lot. So if we're going to do it, let's do it right, whatever that number might be.
Yeah, it's kind of a sleeping monster. So if we put it on, if we put it as approved, we can always have a closer look at it, kind of closer look at it. Member Shiger, you wanted to speak, did you?
No, I've been finding out.
So you're looking for like 216 for Michigan, we're looking at 436, 215 and 231 on future, is that correct? Am I reading this right? And Rob, you had a very good point, the base is probably junk. I was kind of here when we paid this in the beginning, and it's marginal end, but we had to get it done, to get paid for the grant, and everybody should know it. We always complain, look at this as a scrappy job, well, had to go to get a grant. Well, we did, it wasn't bad, but it kind of, I think you have a very good point, the problem with drainage, the problem with subsurface is not good. It's going to be a whole lot more money than I think. That's just my opinion, but I saw in the beginning what it was, it wasn't great, so thank you.
Member Shiger.
Yeah, I would, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would be interested in hearing what the other options are, rather than, I agree that the state of it is terrible, but just to review what we did, and if the base is not good, at the beginning of this meeting, we talked about green, initiative. There are green designs now for parking lot. And, so rather than just doing one pair, and it's a huge amount of money, staff propose or educate us on what are the other designs nowadays. Like we have a green impact and a longer life.
Member Disroche.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to answer Member Williams' question, one of his questions, if I may, just to shed some light. Just reviewing the budget here, you said, the price is changing at 1.216, then 436, then 225. Just to clarify, I believe staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but that 436 is actually this year's amount put together with $220,000. So if we approve this year, it wouldn't be 436 next year, it would be in and around 200,000 for the next 4 years to tackle the project as a whole quarterly. So just to clarify that, and then secondly, I agree with Member Begeer's comments about the green initiatives, and I just would like to reiterate that regardless of how we handle this, I think the matter of fact is that we get. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? As I said, this is a sleeping monster, so we get it on the table. And other options and just tell me what it is. Anyway. Any other comments? The motion will read that the board approves the roadways asphalt, paving in the amount of $216,000. The 2024 budget. All those in favor? Put your hand way up so I can see it, please, yeah. Is your hand up there?
You didn't get it.
Opposed? And that is carried. Item concrete curbs and planters for $89,469. I'm going to pick that up. Concrete pedestrian walkways for $38,528. Should we have people find out what? Do you have a explanation first? Well,
Yeah, if you included the paving, you're gonna need to include some curbs. I don't think you want to pave around broken curbs.
so what do you say exactly, that amount is wrong, or is it?
No, I don't think it would be prudent to pave the parking lots around the curbs. So I think if you're gonna look at including the asphalt paving, you're gonna have to include the curb work as well, at least the curbs. You could probably get away without some of the walkways, but you want to do those.
They would have to be done once you do the paving, that's what you're saying. Remember,
Chair. So, the first planter pads, that is ideally done first, and then all the subsequent paving comes after, regardless of the fact that they're not, being paved immediately. So all curbs get done first, and then different sections get paved, because over the next 4 years, we've got paving, correct?
That's the assumption of the report.
Okay.
Yeah, you could split that up as you do the sections.
everyone okay with that? But it's really good.
Thank you, Chair. I understand what member is saying, that if what staff is saying is that the pavement has to be done in correlation with the first planting pads. I understand the confusion that that figure isn't, again, broken up into a quarterly. So like you would say, each section is done. So I would see a asphalt paving, and then I would see a associated curb planter expense, and then the same thing for the next 4 years. But we're just seeing the curbs and planters and pads for 2 years, and we're seeing the entire asphalt paving done over 4 years. So I can see where she's has a bit of confusion. So do you understand that now or no?
Through your chair, yeah, you could break that up as I suggested. The curb crews are notoriously difficult to get. They're like $100 a meter, cut and replace, so they probably lump all the curbs in at once. When you get that crew on site, you probably do all the work. I'm assuming, from my experience. To get them, I know to get them to come into town to do curb repairs and concrete sidewalk, you have to have a pretty substantive tender.
Any other questions on this? Are you clear on, I'm not clear on exactly what this is here. So are you saying, well, that once we do the paving, that with both the concrete curbs and the walkways are automatically have to be done as well together with it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you want to do your curb repairs long before you did your asphalt, so you got a nice clean asphalt surface. And unlike the asphalt shown in the budget where it's a little bit each of the 4 years, they've shown the curb repairs out front in the first year to get them all done. But the members would have the ability to break the curb repairs up to match the asphalt projects as well. You might pay a little bit of a premium on your curb repairs. You might pay a little bit of premium on your asphalt as well.
So what we're really talking about is the urgent deal with the concrete curbs, hundreds of beds. If we haven't evaluated anything on the floor yet, so is there a motion to put this on the floor? And with those concrete curbs, planters and pads, and we're under the 80,000 and change. Member Glinski.
What's in there, but it's number. Just walking in, I saw how much of the curves are broken up and just laying there in pieces. Something should be done to remedy that situation before somebody falls over it or drives over it and takes on an oil pan and then comes after us for the repairs. So I think something should be done with.
Do I make a motion?
I will make that motion.
Do we have a seconder? Member Ron. Good. So, we've had discussion on this already. If you want to mention. Member Ron.
Just just a comment, if we're gonna invest into doing the parking lot, it's kind of a necessary evil. I don't think we need new planters. Obviously, you have to have curbs. But I think it's worth reporting, at least seeing what we can get done and what we need to do, because we could do half the parking lot without needing to do the other half of the curbs. But it unfortunately is a necessary evil. The other thing is that we don't know what the base is like underneath the asphalt. We also don't know what the base is like underneath of the concrete curbs. So I'm gonna say when one job is done poorly, the rest are too. So I'm gonna say that once we get into it, it's not going to be enjoyable. But again, something has to be done, otherwise it's just gonna keep piling up. So thanks.
Okay, anyone else? So I guess we're looking at the motion on the table that just says that the board approves the concrete and curbs in the amount of $88,000. So setting up doesn't really matter. It just wouldn't have to come back to the board anyway, but at least put it as a capital item that's approved. So we'll call the question, all those in favor? Opposed? Vote is carried. The concrete pedestrian walkways, anyone want to pick that up? The groups, I think.
Chair. Doing our walkabout, there were a lot of raised areas for our concrete walkways, and those are a tripping hazard. So they need to be either ground down or marked, or something needs to happen to them. Whether it's the full amount here, but to remove trip hazards, something should be done.
So you're making a motion to do something there. Do we have a seconder? Member Wright.
Can I add something to that as far as the amount?
Sure. That's depending on
Can I just say what I think? I don't think that everything needs to be replaced, whether it's spray foam is lifted or ground down, but maybe a budget of 5 to 10 grand and to see what can be done to kind of save the life of the highways.
So 10 grand is an amount. Member Winter, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Certainly, you're looking at the best and safety, really trump vehicles. And I'm sure the town has some like, someone has some like, some personal falling bricks or wrist or whatever. And I'm really looking. I think it's ground down, that's fine, but try to make it safer for our pedestrians. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So the 10,000 all the way on dealing with concrete. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Like we have the last item that was referred was the sound system. 8,000. Anyone want to pick that up? Member Wilson, do you want to make a motion to that?
I basically, the reason that I'm saying anything about this, I know it's not structural, I know it's not sort of required. But if we're redoing the Bluetooth, we're redoing the television, filming stuff, redoing the scoreboard, if we're redoing everything technical, it's sort of not a huge ticket item to bring everything up to current technology. And I'm sure if we're using Bluetooth, then having sound system sort of compatible would help that whole thing.
Second. Member DeJour, your second then. Discussion? Member DeJour.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to reference to the Alma Minor Hockey sports lines. That was one of the items that they had expressed concern with the Bluetooth sound system. I think that's the same thing. But I have heard from other groups as well that the sound system is very outdated, and viewing it myself, it is extremely outdated. So I think putting that on the floor is a good thing.
Anyone else? Member Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, just another comment. Yeah, when we did our walkthrough, I looked at it and it looked like good technology in the day. But when we're spending the rest that we're spending on everything else, $15,000 to have music and announcements, and you gotta have good music party before they play. So I think it's important. So thanks. That's it.
Make any suggestions or students?
Loud.
Anyone else? Member Chubb?
Previous Chair, my question is, does this sound system include the hall or only the arena area?
Testing my memory, but I believe it's the arena area. They're currently plugging and unplugging amps to make things work, and it needs an update. I don't believe it's a home stuff.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Seeing none, all those in favor? Approved. So much for the cut items. We've been at this an hour and a half. Does anyone want a comfort break before we continue? We'll plow ahead until we get to the closed section. Want a break? We're going to take 5 minutes. So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the discussion so far. It was great. We have 4 items left in the capital. The first item is the EECC HVAC unit in the amount of $132,925. Someone care to make a motion to put this on the table? Member Barber, do I have a seconder? Member Van Rays, okay. Discussion on this item. Just saying, you guys did a great job discussing. Right up. Member Barber, let's start up. Did you?
No, I'd rather hear Rob.
Oh, yes, have Rob, do you have a report?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe this item is currently in the budget. Is that correct? And if I go back to the narrative that we kind of sent around, nothing further than what's in the engineer's report, except that we have a lot of them up there, and if we don't get started, we probably won't get finished. Further delay, you might run the risk of having a year where you stack more up together than you're comfortable with. So I think that the recommendation, I think, what we took away from the last meeting was to leave those in, so I did leave them in the budget.
Do you have anyone who wants to speak to this? Member Whitner, probably.
Yes, thank you. How many are we replacing?
I believe it's
I've done a ton, not the PPU.
on the right page here, you have a reference to it. Page 31. So the highlighted down the list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
They are the original, so I really don't have a problem seeing them be replaced, and probably something more in your question. You better start working towards replacing, them, because there's a lot of them there. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comment? The motion is that, the EECC voter approves the, purchase of, HVAC units in the amount of $132,925 in the 2024 budget. All those in favor? Good, carried. So that was unanimous or anonymous, one of those two. Second one is the board of on the HVAC ammonia cooling tower. We have someone with a motion, put this on the table. Councilor Rosier, sorry, member Rosier and member Leach. Discussion. Member Whitman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and probably along the same lines, and this would be a original unit, probably, 10 hours a month. Could last for 10 years, it could last nothing, like the ice was here that can last. I would say we go ahead and change that. Again, probably saving some money.
Anyone else? So the motion is that the board approves the purchase of HVAC manual cooling towers or condensers in the amount of $150,000. All those in favor? Carried. Third one deals with the roof coverings, standing seam in the amount of $306,000. 30,676. Thank you. Anyone want to move to put this on the table? Councilor Member Roddy and Member Leach. Discussion. Member Roddy.
I just want to clarify that that is the seam, screw seam that is along the big portion of the building, correct?
Through Mr. Chair to Member Rahi, it's on page 16 and it describes, and it's describing the standing seam. And it also shows picture on 21. So it does say that the roof replacement system is anticipated in like 15 or 20 years, well beyond the scope of sort of this. But it says that the sealants and the bolts and the grommets and all that stuff should be looked at. Well, I assume if there's one seam up there, they probably all will need it without getting too specific.
Anyone else? Member Whitner.
Yes, thank you. I guess I'm too familiar with steel roofs, but I have a lot of learned with that on. Not unusual for these bolts and screws to turn back. That's just normal. I think that's the way it should be. I do have a roofing professional that I deal with, and before they repaint or do anything about them, every time. I look at this group and think that all needs to be done. A lot of it needs to be tight, the cap to go and apply it. But if you play milestone, if you really that kind of money, certainly go ahead and fix it. I would have maybe someone professional look at it, probably a lot cheaper. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And the final one is the roof coverings for the amount of $604,000 and change. So I'm going to move to put it on the table. Member Leach and Member Whitner. Discussion. Member Whitner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to take a look on the roof, and we kind of knock some of the gravel back. The membrane seems to be fine. I would think, I'm not a professional, but I did talk to a professional. He agreed, it probably didn't run with some of the air. He couldn't believe the roof was shot. There's no way. He doesn't read it all the time. Actually, he's offered free of charge, professional opinion, to go and have a look. And there's no way to make that happen. Be unbiased, and there's no, in fact, no obligation. He also does beach crossing, when you need some problems with beach crossing and the pressure line. I think it'd be a good opportunity to have the general look at, with no charge, we're not gonna get that kind of advice for free. But that's my opinion, but I certainly like to see it, and I don't think there's kind of now, that's way of one. I think we could probably get this done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Persona, what would it take to, get this guy? What's that? What would it take to get this guy to come in? Well, you've already, you've already spoken about this.
Yeah, because it worked for me and a lot of neighborhoods, and then there's the third generation of codified land. Very reputable.
So probably, I don't know that these solutions would work to do that, I mean, speak to them. Do it, report back. In terms of, they're gonna work, you're gonna go.
Great.
Okay?
Certainly get all of them, and certainly want to look at it. Thank you.
In council, number zero here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would certainly support, that consideration, considering it's always valuable to have more information, so if we have access to more information, we should definitely utilize it. After assessing the route, C 1.3 route, which is the southeast small section, I, without being an expert in roofing, would feel confident suggesting that that one be specifically addressed, replace whatever we need to do, as the membrane is bubbling and there's water underneath the waterbed. So I don't think we need an expert to tell us that if that one specifically needs to be addressed, but certainly the other ones should be addressed and should be, or sort of assessed and get accepted for sure. Thank you.
Anyone else? If you want to, you refer to a specific group, if you want to make a amendment that we look at that particular group rather than the entire group.
Yes, and if the two, members that are supportive of that would be addressing C 1.3 route, which in the facility assessment is just a reminder one, it's the southeast small section of roofing. And then have other sections assessed for further consideration.
Okay, so, you're making that a motion, so we have a seconder on that. Anyone want to second that motion? That's an amendment, actually, in this case, a second that, number certain. So. Now, this amendment really changes the main motion prior to this, I believe that if we have an amount on that, then it would make it better. Yes.
Without, we do have a number here associated with the payments, so. I think we look to staff as to whether we can really get into the specifics on breaking it down further.
So we need a number basically, and I think that this one is a minimum work there. So the number really doesn't matter that much, and it's going to change based on the goal there, changing the basis of the shingle that comes through, right? So would you have the staff have any suggestion at all, or a number that might be reasonable for this particular route?
My recent experience with flat roofs, we did the pump station downtown and the blower building at the lagoons. And I was surprised at how much they cost. It's my only comment.
So
I don't have a square footage, but it also depends on how much they have to move out of the way to do the roof and all that stuff.
Okay, before, would you be happy with like 200,000 or something? the number, just so that we can have the amendment on the floor. And I think members want to raise first.
It's really, we really, the number really got important at this point, but like you said, we're looking at a number of, what, 600,000? Yeah, just over 600,000. If we have a professional that's willing to come out free of charge, he's gonna look at the one section of the roof, he's gonna look at the entire roof and come back and say, okay, yeah, this section needs to be fixed. The rest of it, you're okay. So could we not move forward with, if the board approves, we have the 600,000 right now. The number really doesn't matter until we actually get a full back to say, this is what needs to be done, this is how much it's gonna cost. It comes back to the board anyways, and then at that point, we approve and move forward with it or not. That's just what makes sense to me. But taking advantage of the fact that we do have someone that's willing to come out free of charge. The numbers don't really matter at this point, in my opinion.
Well, I was just wanting a number because it just, the motion wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to stay with 600,000 if you're only doing 1/3 of the roof or something, so it's one of another number. That would make it, reason for motion, so it's just procedural. I think member Barber,
Would another option be to defer this particular matter until we get that second opinion, until the next board meeting?
so if you make a motion to defer because that will override everything. But we're making that motion.
I'll make that motion.
And we have a second or to defer, so we'll vote on deferring that issue until whatever from Mr. Whitmer's. Okay, anyone want to talk to the defer before I ask the question?
Through your chair, I just have a question. So does this mean that the budget would then be deferred
No, only this part of it.
only this portion, so it can be added back?
Correct.
But my comment is, we already know that the roof needs repair, whether it's a portion of the roof that needs total replacement and another part that just needs a small amount. In all, it's the roof that needs addressing. So breaking it into parts, I don't feel it's necessary. I think that we've agreed that the roof needs tending to. It's just some need more care than others.
Motion on the floor is to defer this. Do we have a comment about it?
As I understand it, if, I know they're debating that if we approve this tonight, moving forward at the budget amount, but the board would like to see maybe a report on a scope of work before it goes to procurement or something. Is that maybe okay? Or a suggestion?
Are you talking about this particular item here? By
Yeah.
yourself? Yeah, I think that.
Yes.
People would like more information before we do anything. That's what they're looking at. I don't know if you can hear me or not, because I hear myself loud. I don't know if you can hear myself loud or not. All right, any further discussion on the deferral? Great, so I'll call the question on deferring this.
Mr. Chair, can we just have a clarification on, we're talking a couple of different things here. A different scope of referral.
Deferral will override everything. You defer this item, anything else other than the floor is.
Right, and how does the different scope tie into the to the question?
So a different scope.
Different scope by repurposing the job itself.
Well, none of that has been decided on. None of that's on the floor. The only thing that's on the floor besides the deferral is the amendment to the main motion, which talked about one of the groups. If you defer the motion, then the whole thing is deferred until bring it back to this board, right? Yes.
So, to the mayor, we do have a motion to amend the board here, motion to defer. My question perhaps to the board would be, what is the intention in terms of entire capital budget? So if we are deferring this item, are we deferring decision on the capital budget, or are we waiting? You know,
No, well, we've had a number of separate motions, right, and this is another separate motion, the way I'm reading it, and we're deferring this item, we're deferring the motion on the roofs. The roofs. Okay. Did everyone understand that? Want to make sure, because procedural items sometimes get lost, and people aren't sure what they're voting on, but voting on only the roof. The roofs. Item, it's not numbered or anything, just the amount of $604,000, and there was an amendment to that. Both of those are now superseded by the motion to defer this. Everybody. She says it's right, it's right. Okay. Okay, any other comments then? Seeing none, I'll call the. Yeah, we had a mover and a second, we had a member, Carter and member Whitney. All right, we have to call the question. All those in, this is the deferral provision. All those in favor of deferral. And it is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for being patient with this. So the next item would be the want a final motion, the total amount that we need to go to the board. So the next motion will be a motion that summarizes all of the motions that we've had so far. Right? With that total amount. So that instead of sending 15 motions to the various councils, we have one. So you have those motions ready.
I do. Can I just get Heather to verify this number? I have the number being $738,859 per total, and then per partner is $369,429 and 50 cents. Motion will be that the CAO 16-24 EECC capital budget be received for information, and that the EECC board approve the 2024 capital budget in the total amount of $738,000, $859, $369, $429.50 per municipal partner, and that the board's approval be sent on to member municipalities for endorsement.
If you approve the motion, we have both here in a secondary for that. Member DeSrosier and member Van Graves. Anyone wants to comment on any of that? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is carried. Thank you very much. Next item is H, which is correspondence with the operating budget. Do we have a motion for that?
The staff recommendation is that the correspondence respecting 2024 operating budget and user fees from the town of Elmer and the township of Alpine be received for information.
We're going to seconder. Member DeSrosier and member Margaret. Discussion. We have the correspondence in front of you. You've all read it. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Can we have your hand way up, please?
Actually, I have the question.
Jerry, thank you. Right.
My last ask the question. I have my hand up, I just don't think it's on.
Did you have your hand up to ask a question and I missed it?
Yes, so can I ask a question? Sorry. Through you, Chair, thank you for allowing that. Sorry for the confusion. It's just regarding the letter from the Township of Malahide. I wanted more information, regarding the request to have the, new facility manager present, some ideas about the future facility utilization. Any comments on that or my request comment?
Sorry to get the question.
So it's regarding the letter from the Township of Malahide. There's a point in the letter regarding, reaching out to the new facility manager to get some type of report or some type of, correspondence with them regarding future utilization and how we can maximize utilization. I'm just wondering if we could have more discussion about that or have something from the facility manager.
Well, I can't repeat the discussion, certainly. I'm sure that the director of recreation is always doing that kind of thing, but everyone.
That's part of the operating like turn down time, maybe comment like that. But new person in charge, have a quick look at it. I hate to say here, when you can maybe fix a lot of things, it looks like you're working towards fixing a lot of things, which is very good. That's why this was brought up, that's part of the operating.
Thank you. Anyone else? Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can maybe address, a few things in this letter if it will help those members get through this. The third bullet point, for sure, about the banners and the sponsorship and the ongoing advertising and stuff like that. The board will recall we've done some significant work in the last little while. I don't know if you've seen these. These are the public skate sponsorship programs. You know, we do a certificate to the businesses that sign up to sponsor those public skates. They can show these behind the till if they want to show their pride that they're sponsoring the community. We've done the Canada Day sponsorship program for sure. You guys have probably seen this. The ice resurfacing sponsorship program, the New Year's Eve sponsorship program. So we're doing a lot of work in that. We've taken on what I would say would be the low-hanging fruit of that. And we probably, I know you guys have seen these, you've shared them on your website for sure. I will say that when we brought these at the board meeting, there's been a lot of other action going on at the same time. So I know these kind of just go through sometimes, but I did want to remind the board members that this is ongoing. But we are working towards a master sponsorship program. We've looked at other areas on how they do all their brandings. They've got everything from rink boards. We've got that well underway. Dressing room naming rights, rink naming rights. We're looking at all that stuff. But this stuff takes time. I would be hesitant to recommend, we've got rooms in the building that are sponsored by businesses that no longer exist. Having said that though, before I feel comfortable recommending a sponsorship programming to renaming one of the rinks, I want to have eyes on what the original agreement was. So there's a lot of the stuff that now take a fair bit of work. I think we've picked off this stuff. So I understand that you want to make sure we're doing that prior to approving the budget. But there's no way that that work could get back to you prior to approving the budget. This stuff is going to take a while to kind of work our way through. And I think that's the same with a few of these items on here. So I think that I just want to provide the members with some comfort that we are doing that. We're picking it off one by one, slowly, methodically. We're trying to not ruffle feathers out there. We've done the ice allocation. You've seen those reports, the graphs where Heather presented, where everything's kind of getting aligned up and stuff like that. What we need is, again, Susie to have some time in here. Be able to run this facility, to make recommendations now, I think, to pass a budget is kind of, I don't know if it's the right course of action. I think that they need some time to flesh the rest of this stuff out. That you're not going to get this budget, this bullet list back in time to approve the budget in March, but they are ongoing. I think they've been up here at the board for you to see. We've got a lot of stuff on these agendas, and I don't expect everybody to recall everything, but I just want to remind the board members that we have been doing a lot of this work out there.
Thank you very much for that. Work in progress, and we really are working in program. Any other comment? Oops. There's you there first.
So would it be possible then for the board to direct staff to capture their response and in writing and then for sending back to council? So even if the response means, we're working on this, or this will take this much money, basically capturing what you're describing, this evening, and just to some folks will have responded to that effect back to Manaheim, and you could, the Manaheim Council can consider, maybe that's what's anticipated.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if that's something we could certainly put something together. We're confident all the things that have been highlighted in that bullet point are well underway. And we can certainly draft something back if that's the board's direction, Tony. It will probably reiterate a lot of what's been in the staff reports, same thing.
Do you want this an actual form of board direction? You're happy with the package and understanding that, so we'll do that. So, provide the communication as, Member Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of the concerns that were raised around the operating budget stems from the fact that this facility is not a new facility, and when entering other arenas in different communities, the amount of advertising is into the arena space around the arena. Ice surfing is extensive, and when you come into this arena, the advertising is somewhat lacking. And just wanted to ensure that all opportunities are being maximized to ensure that we've got good advertising opportunities for a number of community organizations and businesses to highlight to all the individuals coming into our community that they have there's a presence that they could go and utilize. And to ensure that the arena is actually capitalizing on those business opportunities within the community.
Like there's something, all of that makes perfect sense. I'm sure that you're working on that. Put it to your list. Because it's already on it, right? Anyone else? Member DeSouza.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up, Chair, to our new manager of the facility. I didn't want to engage in this conversation, to put any pressure on you. I'm really excited to see what you can come up with and to see how your presence can make a difference in this facility. So I just want to make that very clear that this conversation is a good thing. I don't think it's a negative thing. And thank you for all you're doing currently and from you.
Saying that none of that will call the vote. All those in favor? It's carried, thank you. And the last item come up concerning the board meeting schedule.
Yes, the staff recommendation is that the board approves the meeting schedule with the following dates. Wednesday, May 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Wednesday, November 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. As well as Wednesday, January 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m.
Mover and second. Member DeSouza and Member Riley. Any discussion on this? Everybody's happy, good. No?
Mr. Chair, I'm very happy to see that there's an actual schedule that we can put in and know that we can make meetings. Thank you.
Yeah, 2025 is on there already. No other comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Notice of motion. A increase by members.
During our tour of the facility here, And in my past visits with, some individuals who their mobility is concerned, going up and down the stairs in the arena stands is somewhat precarious for someone who doesn't have a good sense of balance. And I was wondering if staff could look into the possibility of a handrail on stair, ways, so that if someone did fall, they had something to hold on to, because there currently is the seating, but there's nothing that someone could actually hold on to prevent the fall down to the glass. So, if that is, something to look into, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. I think you and I were discussing that, and you did mention that it would really, good idea to have a railing go down in the middle of the stairs so that it's still moving on either side of that railing, because it is really steep, it's cement, and it's a long ways down. Anyone else? Great, thank you. Next item, closed session.
So the motion reads that the board convene a closed session at 9:14 p.m. to discuss the following matters: Chief Administrative Officer report 17-24 EECC closed update regarding an identifiable individual, and that consideration of these items is closed to the public pursuant to section 392D of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters of an identifiable individual, including local board.
Thank you, mover and seconder. Good job. All those in favor? It's carried. Have a brief.
So the meeting closed to the public at 9:22 p.m. and reports that the EECC board received report CAO 17-24.
Mover and seconder. Member Disrosier and member G. Garrett. All those in favor? The next meeting is on May the 8th, and you need a motion for adjournment.
The EECC board adjourned at 9:24 p.m.
Mover, member Chapman, and member Sermon. All in favor? Gary, thank you very much. Thank you very much.